If you subscribe to the Moog newsletter or have half an ear on the synthesizer grapevine, you will know that Moog has announced the re-release of the Minimoog Model D. This has caused great rejoicing in many fields by many people, but I find this so disappointing, and I would like to explain why. The original Minimoog Model D was released back in 1970, and it was one of, if not the first, portable synthesizers. Prior to that, you had to carry around a mountain of modular equipment and have a PhD in astrophysics in order to use it. As well as being portable, the Minimoog was really easy to use. It had one knob per function, it had a really simple layout, and back in the 70s, synthesizers and synthesis were a new thing for musicians. Now, most musicians today, whether you use a DAW or hardware, will have a nodding acquaintance with subtractive synthesis. Not so back in the day. So this was a really simple and a really easy synthesizer to use, and it has well earned its place in the Synthesizer Hall of Fame. Possibly because of that, it has also attracted a sort of mystique about itself, and to have a vintage Minimoog Model D was a sign of great synthesizer manship, if there is such a word. And then in 2016, Moog decided to re-release the Minimoog Model D. So people who never had an original Minimoog had the opportunity to buy a new one, which is absolutely wonderful. Now, for some reason, the production only lasted about a year or just over a year, and Moog said the reason they stopped it was because they ran out of components. And that's sort of weird now. This was in 2016. We didn't have chip shortages or anything at all like that. So why couldn't they just buy more components? They obviously have enough components now in 2022, in spite of all the shortages, to remake it. So what was the problem back in 2016? Now, if you want to be cynical about it, no, let's not be cynical, but it was perhaps coincidental that around the time that this was discontinued, Behringer announced the release of their Model D at an absolute fraction of the price. And let's be fair, it sounds like a Minimoog. So maybe that had something to do with it, maybe not. Anyway, coming up to date, we can only assume that Moog has a limited production capacity. So after starting production of the re-released Minimoog in 2017, I think it was, in 2018 we got the Grandmother, and then in 2019 we got the Matriarch. And along the way, Moog produced various other interesting bits of equipment, such as the DFAT and the subharmonica. Now, a couple of years ago, Moog announced they were going to produce a dark version of the Grandmother and the Matriarch. And several months ago, they said they were discontinuing them. Now, I thought it was a bit weird. I made a video about it if you want to check that out. The synthesizers are identical, they just have different paint jobs, so I can't really see the difficulty in keeping the two types in production. But that was Moog, and around the same time they discontinued the Werkstatt, so I thought they are gearing up for a new release. And yes, we did get it in the form of the Moog Mavis. Now, people have been very kind about it. It is a super little Moog module, but I think it was slightly underwhelming. But one interesting thing about it, it had a wave folder, and I don't think another Moog synth before has ever had a wave folder. In fact, if you look at Moog instruments, they tend to be all based around a core set of Moog modules. So the Moog Grandmother and Matriarch have Moog oscillators, they have Moog filters, they have Moog ADSR section, and so on. And obviously these are tweaked a bit to suit the particular instrument that they are being put into. But essentially, Moog has a talent for putting, we'll say, standard modules together in very interesting and creative ways. So I have to say I was expecting something a little bit more interesting, if you like, a bit more exciting, a bit more innovative than a reissue of a vintage 50-year-old synthesizer. Now, I'm not knocking the Minimoog Model D at all. I'm sure many people will buy it, many people will love it. But at the end of the day, it is still a very simple synthesizer. There's nothing new about it, there's nothing innovative about it, and I would really have loved to see Moog come up with something innovative. As it is, we seem to be living in a time of reissues and clones. Roland, I don't know what's happened to Roland, but they did this with the Jupiter X and the Juno models, and then they tried to squeeze a JD800 into a little box. Yes, I've got a video about that as well. Check that one out. But at least with the Jupiter and the Juno, they introduced some new things to the model. Korg has been reissuing stuff as well. They produced a cut down version of their big ARP 2600. They re-released the MS-20. They have re-released and updated a little bit, I believe, the Mini 700. I think that's just a weird thing to re-release. Oberheimer's released the OBX8 thing. At least that has got 3 synthesizers in one. And what you can do, of course, when you re-release something is to improve it. Moog made a couple of little improvements to the Model D in the 2016 release, and they've added a couple of more features to this release, but nothing outstanding. I mean, they haven't really taken the concept of the Minimoog and run with it. If they were going to re-release something, I would have thought they could have at least released something which was a little bit more practical, shall we say, in the form, maybe the Voyager. That would have been a good re-release. But now we've got the Minimoog Model D. And I was really hoping and really half expecting Moog's next Sins to be something really interesting and unique, something that I could use alongside my grandmother. Maybe I'm going to have to wait another couple of years for that. Maybe Moog has got something else on the back burner. We are living in an era of re-releases and clones. What has happened to the spirit of innovation which was going on in the 80s and the 90s and even in the 2000s? So I'm really disappointed and saddened by the announcement. It would be nice to see some major synth company come up with something new and different and innovative. As it is, all this stuff seems to be happening in software. So what do you think? Is it a good idea for Moog to re-release this? Are you going to buy one? Do you think they should have improved or enhanced it? Should they have re-released the Voyager instead? Are we now in fact living in a world of reissues and clones? Let me know what you think. Leave a comment in the comment section. As always, thank you very much for watching my videos. I really do appreciate it. If you've enjoyed this one, then I think you might enjoy one of these. Check them out. I'll see you again in the next one very soon.